We are now live.
Thank you.
I will stroll the
Well,
music in.
thank you. Welcome. My name is Melanie Campbell. I'm president and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. So today we are so excited to be virtually launching our Unity 22 Black Voting and Power Building campaign, Unity 22, and our national organizing virtual meeting with over 50 national and state-based organizations and their leaders coming together for a purpose to continue organizing and fighting back against the attacks on all of our rights and freedoms, to continue to focus on economic justice and save our democracy from peril. And a part of that is merging our organizing with the fact that we're in the midst of the 22 midterm election. It is the most serious election of our lifetime. And we know that a core component of us being able to fight back and win on our issues and our concerns and our rights and our freedoms is the power of our vote. We know that we are up against a tsunami of voter suppression laws that have been enacted since 2021, but we're going to win. We're going to make sure that the Black vote is strong as it's ever been. We're going to make sure that we hold elected officials accountable. We have a lot riding on the future for our communities as well as this nation. And so in order to get started, we have with us our chairman of the board, Mr. Thomas W. George Jr., who will bring us welcome as well and his opening remarks. Thomas W. George, and I know, Tommy, you have a conflict, and so we're going to have you, and then we're going to bring on the inspiration following. That will be our inspiration. We have come this far by faith from Bishop Leah Daughtry, National President Prelate of the House of the Lord Churches, and Reverend Tony Lee, Pastor, Community of Hope, AME, Temple Hills, Maryland. Tommy, Bishop, and then Reverend Lee.
Thank you, Melanie. And let me take this time to welcome each of you to our virtual conference for our Unity 22 national campaign. We have over 50 organizations that are joining us today in this partnership, and that's what we are, the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. It's about all of us coming together to ensure that we utilize this right that so many people sacrificed and gave their lives for. The late John Lewis, when he was the president of the Voter Education Project, used to have these signs that said that hands that once picked cotton can now pick presidents and U.S. senators and congressmen and governors and city council people and mayors. And that's true. If you look at what happened in the last national election, it was our participation that helped to select a president, several senators. And this year, this election, and we hear it over and over, but I have to keep saying that now this is one of the most important elections that faces our nation and our community. It's a decision that will decide where we go as a nation, whether we're going to be better unified as people and citizens of this country. The balance of power in the U.S. Senate rides on this, on who's elected. There are several African Americans running for public office around this nation. And while we are nonpartisan, we are focused on making sure that we utilize that powerful thing called a vote. Maynard Jackson and his grandfather used to say that we will get ahead as a nation in this nation by the ballot, the buck, and the book. And so we've dealt with education, must continue. We look at economic empowerment, but for right now, we're focused on elections. There's so many that try to ensure that we would not vote, that we would not be able to exercise that power. And so now, even though they put stumbling blocks in front of us and try to put barriers, we're going to overcome all of that to make sure that we're out, that we vote like we never voted for before. So I want to thank and welcome all of those who are here as part of the coalition. Know that we have a great job before us. and we cannot sleep on this election that's coming up. So Melanie, I commend you and our staff and our board for all that they've done and continue to do. You're a phenomenal leader, Melanie. I'm really proud of you. And to all of those on this call, the 100 Black Men of America, where I serve as national chairman, is part of this coalition. And we're part of the national coalition. We've been there for years. So coming together, all of us must lockstep together to make sure we turn out the votes, to make sure people are educated, and more importantly, to make sure that we do our part to ensure we continue to build this nation, which we all help to make what it is, and we're going to make it even better. So welcome. Let's make sure that Unity 22 is very successful. Our young people, for all of those adults and our seniors and everybody coming together, this coalition will work. And thank you for being on the call, but more importantly, thank you for what you're going to do in this Unity 22 campaign to make sure that we vote en masse to ensure we protect our rights to vote. We protect the rights of women. We help to eliminate all this violence that's going on in it and making sure that our young people can dream their dreams and become a reality. Thank you again.
Thank you, Tommy, so very much. Thank you for your leadership and all of your support. And we will see you on the ground very, very soon.
Sorry, I don't know the answer to this.
Okay, I don't know what that was. Whatever the question was, we got the answers, Bishop Leah, bring us home. Reverend Tony, it's inspiration time, y'all. I know we're on this Zoom, but I want you to feel the energy. I'm just excited and thrilled to have all of you on, because I know with this team, we are the A team, right? And those who we know are part of us. And so, Bishop, Reverend Tony, give us our inspiration.
Good morning, family, and to Sister Melanie, who there's no one better to bring us all together. It is her gift and her calling, and so we are grateful to her for the role that she plays in our movement. And I'm thrilled to be with you this morning to share some words of inspiration. They gave me our watchwords. We've come this far by faith. We've come this far by faith. We are at a dire place in our nation, at a crossroads of crises few of us would have imagined. There will be, as there have been, as Dr. King said, some difficult days ahead, but we've had difficult days before. We've survived the horrors of the Great Crossing and the soul-stripping degradation of slavery. We've lived through Reconstruction and Jim Crow and internment camps. And we've answered with the abolitionist movement, the suffrage movement, the civil rights movement, Stonewall, the women's movement, the farm workers movement, Black Lives Matter, and many others. And we've been strengthened by the great cloud of witnesses who didn't receive the promises, but saw them in the future and didn't stop believing just because their dreams wouldn't come to pass in their lifetime. Sojourner, Frederick, Cesar, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, and countless other ancestors didn't stop fighting for freedom, for education, for the right to vote, the right to live, the right to be equal, even though they weren't assured that they would see it in their lifetimes. For our watchwords, we need look no further than the words of the Reverend Henry Highland Garnet, who in 1843 said, "Brethren, arise, arise, strike for your lives and liberties. Now is the day and the hour. Let your motto be resistance, resistance, resistance. No oppressed people have ever secured liberty without resistance." We've come this far by faith. So as we prepare for the work ahead, let us remember where we have come from. Let us remember what we are made of. Let us remember what we have been through, stolen from our homeland. We survived. carried across the great sea, we survived. Sold into inhumane bondage, we survived. Enduring Reconstruction and the Klan, we survived. Navigating Jim Crow and his lynchings, we survived. Through marches and freedom rides and fire bombings, we survived. Through police killings, unjust court decisions, and systematic racism, we survived. And we shall remember that we didn't just survive, but we thrived. Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosa, we thrived. Harriet Tubman, Ida B. Wells, Sojourner Truth, we thrived. W.E.B., Booker T. Bayard, Malcolm Martin, Rosa, Fannie Lou, Ella, we thrived. Angela Davis, Assata Shakur, Huey Newton, Elaine Brown, Wilma Mankiller, Barbara Jordan, Cesar Chavez, we thrived. And our mere survival was an act of resistance. That we woke up every day and kept moving forward was an act of resistance. Creating our own institutions, our own churches, our own denominations, our own colleges and universities, our own schools, our own businesses, our own organizations. This was an act of resistance, an act that declared that our strengths, our determination, our fortitude, our unshakable belief in our God-given right to be here on this earth. We are here today because of our ancestors' acts of resistance, their refusal to give in, their refusal to give up, their refusal to die. And we, you and me, all of us together, individually, collectively, we are the evidence of their resistance. So now in this moment, as we battle economic challenges, governmental callousness, and systematic racism, as we fight for freedom and self-determination for our people, as we battle seemingly insurmountable odds to bring change to this country, let us hold on to hope. Let us remember to hope. Let us remind ourselves that there is still hope, and that hope is a form of resistance. As the people of God, the people created in the image of God, our hope is belief in the face of seemingly insurmountable circumstance. Our hope is believing despite the odds. Our hope exists despite possibility or impossibility. Hope, after all, flaunts probability. And our hope comes from the eternal source, from the lover of our souls, from the giver of strength, from the provider of purpose. And I'm a preacher, so I'm gonna give you a text. So though the fig tree shall not blossom, and though there be no fruit in the vine, though the field yield no meat, and though the flock be cut off from the fold, though there be no herd in the stall, I will not worry, and my heart shall not fear, for our victory is certain, because we've come this far by faith. God bless you.
Bishop, thank you so much for those wonderful words. And I'm so grateful to just add a little bit on the end of it. But all we really need to say is let the church and everybody say amen to those wonderful words of inspiration, Bishop Daughtry, to Melanie. And thank you so much for all the incredible work you do, Sister Melanie, bringing us all together. Now, one of the things that I want us to really reflect on in this moment, as we talk about we've come this far by faith, is the we. As we're coming into this unity campaign, I need us to focus on the we've come this far, the we in it. On the day of Pentecost, the Bible says that when the day of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. And suddenly a sound like a blowing of a violent wind came from heaven, filled the whole house where they were sitting. They saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and came to rest on each other. And all of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit enabled them. Now, the incredible thing about this day is that as the Spirit came, as they all were together, the scripture says they were able to speak to all that were around them from all different nations, and every nation heard them in their own tongue. That when we come together, that we are literally able to do the miraculous. When we come together, that we are able to communicate to everyone right where they are, no matter their social, no matter their gender, no matter their political affiliation, no matter what side of the tracks they grew up on, that when we come together, that we are, one, able to communicate to folks right where they are, but two, organize them right where they are, because the scripture says that what? That this was the birth of the church. This was the organizing of the church, that 3,000 joined the movement that day. That when we come together, that we will see folks who have been on the sidelines to understand they need to get up and they need to get themselves up in the movement. When we come together and we find the power of our togetherness, then literally, I don't care how rough it looks, how tough it looks, how hard it looks, how organized they seem to be, when we come together, that mountains can move when we come together. And so, my brothers and my sisters, I want to encourage you today that I know you may be a little weary, I know you may be a little tired, but don't you grow weary in well-doing, for we shall reap a harvest if we faint not. That don't you get tired of the battle, that we've come this far by faith. And as my old grandmom used to say, and I don't believe that God brought us this far to leave us. So let us walk together, children, and don't you get weary, because there's a great camp meeting on the other side. We, in this unity campaign, have come together by faith.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Reverend Lee, Bishop Daughtry. You brought us in the right space at the right time in this moment that we're in. So thank you also very, very much for bringing our inspiration. Bishop Lee, we're going to call on you again a little later, and Reverend Tony again, to talk about what's going on. We get into the tactical side of what we're trying to do, not telling all of our secrets, but just putting it out. We don't care who read it or hear about it. That's what we're going to talk about today. So next we will have our Unity Hour, awesome dynamic duo, our leader of our Unity 22 national campaign, my sister Christina Q, with her partner in all things powerful, Daryl Coles, who is the National Black Youth Vote Project Coordinator for the National Coalition. So we're going to turn it over to you two to give us a tight overview about the campaign for those who have not gotten a lot of details about it, who just stepped on faith and said, hey, we're going to be a part of this table. And be clear, this is a table that what we have attempted to do with the National Coalition over the years is to build this unity table during midterm elections and presidential elections so that we can share resources, find ways that we can collaborate, find ways we can partner so we can support each other. The National Coalition, we have 11 states that we work in every year. So we'll talk a little bit about that down the road from our state leaders. But this is a table, well, I'm gonna say this is the Black table, and I'm talking about the Black vote and empowering the Black vote to be able to move on the concerns that we have around these congressional races, around these state races, around these local elections that will change this country for the next generation, the results of that. And I know I'm preaching to the choir in that, but just to remind ourselves why it's so very, very important that this is the time, if ever there's a time for us to come together, it's now. So turn it over to Christina and Daryl.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Melanie, for being the fearless leader that you are. And it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of the NCBCP team, to be the Unity National Unity Campaign Manager for this year. And I'm so honored to work with my partner, Daryl Coles. And so we will just give you a brief overview of what the Unity Campaign is. Give me 1 second to share my screen. And there we go. Awesome. So the theme of our campaign is leveraging our power and protecting our rights and freedoms to achieve justice. We are launching the campaign in July, and this will go through December of 2022. We're a nonpartisan multi-state voter engagement campaign where Melanie just talked about our goal is to build an intergenerational unity 2022 coalition table to maximize our resources and the partnerships with all of your respective organizations and the impact in the 2022 midterm elections. We're also focused, we're particularly focused on increasing Black voter turnout and providing voter protection to ensure that our Black voters are counted in the 2022 midterm elections. And then we're also fighting back against historical attacks on our rights and freedoms, safety, and justice, and our democracy. And so we are particularly focused in the following states: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Maryland, Michigan, Mississippi, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Virginia, and DC. And we will have, we'll hear more from our state affiliates on the priorities and everything that they have going on in their state, so you can learn about what we have going on with our partners, our state partners. And here is just a graphic of all of the organizations. So you should see your organization represented here. And we thank you all so much for responding and answering the call. And so we are excited to partner with you this year in the 2022 midterm elections. And so what is at stake right now is we have 34 US Senate races, 35 House of Representative races, 36 gubernatorial races, and 88 of the 99 state legislature chambers that are all up for re-election this year. And we're, like I said, protecting our voting rights is a key component of our campaign. And we know that while we're focused on protecting our voting rights, we know all the other rights that we're fighting to protect is all connected, which is be it reproductive justice, economic security, racial justice. All these rights are connected to our voting rights. And so we want to make sure that we're making that connection and making it clear for Black voters to be mobilized and increasing their enthusiasm and making sure that they know that voting is their power and how they fight back against these attacks on their rights. And so today we're launching our campaign, and we're launching it in 2 phases. Through July and August be our summer of organizing and activism. And then the phase 2 will be our Vote Your Power GOTV/voter protection campaign. And that will go through December. And so today we have our launch, our virtual launch that we're all on right now. Tomorrow we'll be launching our Are You Vote Ready campaign materials on social media. You've already been provided the graphics in your social media toolkit. And so we'll ask that you share that on your social media platform, if you can, through your respective organizations, so that way we can have a Twitter storm. And we'll also be scheduling IG Live conversations as well as PSAs that will be amplifying throughout the Are You Vote Ready campaign to just make sure everyone understands the importance of being vote ready in this cycle. And that's checking their voter registration, making sure their status is up to date. And like I said, there's a lot more detail on the Are You Vote Ready campaign, and we'll touch on it in a second, but I just want to go over the week of activities for this week for the launch. And then on Wednesday, we have our Black Women's Roundtable Organizing and Activism Action, where we're doing a speak out in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. You've already received the invitation for that. And if you would like to speak and be a speaker and join us on Wednesday, we would love to have you. So please just make sure that you're RSVP'd and you're confirmed. And we will be there on Wednesday at 2 o'clock for our direct action. And here's the flyer that you should see in your email referencing that. And if you want to share that on your social media platform, you can. On Thursday, we will be in Ohio. We'll be launching our Ohio Unity, the Ohio Unity State Campaign, and we'll be with our Ohio team there with the Unity Coalition statewide and organizing meeting. And we will be having a phone bank. Ohio has a special election coming up on Tuesday, August 2nd. And so we want to make sure that we are providing support and amplifying the message there that they have a special election, because it's only for the state elections. And so we want to make sure that voters know that they have an election going on, and we get them out to the polls on August 2nd. We also have a primary coming up in Michigan on August 2nd. So we're planning to be in Michigan on Friday and Saturday with our Michigan Coalition on Black Civic Participation, launching our Michigan Unity campaign and doing GOTV and community empowerment work in the Metro Detroit area. And we'll also be partnering with our affiliates in Kalamazoo as well. And then on Monday, we have our Black Youth Vote organizing efforts, and our empowerment activities. We'll be launching, and I'll let Daryl speak to that in just a second, but we'll be launching our Black Youth Vote activities, and I'll let him speak more to that.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, go ahead, Daryl.
I'm sorry. You want to keep on? I'm sorry, but
No,
my name is Daryl Coles, project assistant for NCBCP, and as the screen showed, Monday 1st is the launch of our Black Youth Vote Organizing and Empower activities. The activities include our Black Youth Vote Community and Collegiate Own Your Voting Power National Challenge. And the challenge is when we partner with mostly HBCUs, but we also partner with colleges and other universities, and also community-based organizations. And the goals of the challenge is to help protect voters from voter suppression tactics, educate, motivate, and mobilize peers to vote at HBCUs, colleges / universities, and other, and just in the broad community, period. And also to create enthusiasm for the upcoming 2022 elections, state level and local level. And also, we also will be launching our BYV Foot Soldiers for Freedom poll workers and poll monitor summer recruitment drive, where we'll be partnering with our partners, national partners and state partners, where we begin together poll workers and poll monitors just to try to help protect the vote. And last but not least, we'll be hosting a virtual town hall named Brothers Can We Talk? What brothers want for their vote. And it will be a virtual town hall, and we will have some social media presence, and we just have a dialogue about how we can mobilize Black men and young Black men just to get more voter turnout and be more influenced and just more involved in the political atmosphere. And so we're looking forward to a successful week, and we'll be pushing out all this information, invite letters, and we'll be getting all this to you so you can blast out and push out to your networks, and we'll be looking forward to a successful week. And that's all for Black Youth Vote for right now.
Thank you so much, Daryl. And then I'll jump back to, and the rest of our summer of organizing activism for July through August would be the Black Women Leaders and Allies Call to Action. Just like we're doing on Wednesday, we'll be doing more of that through the summer. And I mentioned already the Are You Vote Ready public awareness social media campaign. So this is in partnership with vote.org, and is making sure that voters can register, verify, and vote through this tool. And this is a tool that's available in all 50 states. And you can also share this on your website. And so, like I said, the social media graphics for Are You Vote Ready are in your toolkit, and the links to those options to register, verify, and vote are provided in your toolkit for you as well. And Daryl, well, I think you mentioned it, Daryl, but I think I did maybe. But the new era Foot Soldiers for Freedom, where we're registering at least, our goal is to register at least 10,000 poll workers and poll monitors for the 2022 midterm election. And so we're hoping to do that with your help and your support. And we have that information provided for you in the toolkit as well. And Vote Your Power GOTV Voter Protection Campaign, what that is comprised of for September through November is our state trainings, where we'll do civic leadership and organizing state trainings with our Black Youth Vote teams. And then we'll have our Unity 2022 National Voter Registration Day, and we'll host a voter registration, Voting is Your Power registration drive. And then we'll also have our Black Women's Roundtable, Power of the Sister Vote, and Black Youth Vote, Vote for Justice, Voter Education, and GOTV organizing initiatives. And we also will be doing our Unity 2022 Know Your Rights and Voter Protection campaign for early voting and election day. And then we'll have command centers at Howard University and Clark Atlanta University, and we'll do a post-election media briefing. And then we'll also be working on our 2023 and 2024 strategic plan. So we'll be ready to go for the next election cycle. And a few key indicators of success is increasing our Black civic engagement and increasing Black voter turnout to at least the 2018 turnout levels. And that's Black women 54% or higher, Black men 46% or higher, Black youth 38% or higher, in the 11 states, and we're hoping to reach 1 million Black voters in our tier 1 states and knock on at least 100,000 doors and have about 10,000 conversations and 100,000 voter contacts for each state through our phone banking, text messaging, direct mail, and community events. And then we're hoping to have 300,000 Black voter contacts in our tier 2 states. And we're trying to train 500 Black youth vote coordinators across the state with the help of our state affiliates. And we're also hoping to host organized GeoTV activities throughout the cycle, and then conduct research projects. We've already partnered with some of you, and we've already done the Essence poll, I'm part of the Sister Vote poll in partnership with Essence. And I'm trying to just speed through because I know I may be at time soon, but we'll recruit and train at least 100. Go ahead.
Yeah. We gotta.
Okay,
So
I would just wrap up.
Share that. Yes.
Yes, and I'll just wrap up with. You want me to wrap up with the key next steps, Mel?
Yes. Yeah, and then we'll
Okay.
share the more detail because we are running a little behind.
Okay, perfect. So just key next steps on how you can partner with the campaign. I just wanted to make sure I gave you all a really clear next 8 steps. Participate in our virtual launch like you're doing today, promoting Are You Vote Ready materials on social media, participate on Wednesday in our Black Women Leaders and Allies rally at 2 o'clock. And you can we're going to do a virtual phone bank for Ohio on the 28th. You can participate virtually in a text bank or phone bank for Michigan on the 29th or 30th, and promote BYV, Black Youth Vote, poll workers, social media graphics, which is providing your toolkit, and then join us for our Brothers Can We Talk conversation. And our next meeting will be mid-August. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Q. As you can see, this is a robust, very ambitious campaign, but we're in an ambitious moment. So we're gonna. I feel that we will be able to get this done and more. And we tried to target this as what's doable, what's been historical. And one of the things Q mentioned, I did want to lift, and then we're going to call on to do get some research updates to you all. And then we're going to go right into hearing from many of our national partners, and then following that, state partners. But when we say, well, what do we want to do? The last midterm election, a lot happened. And what happened is young people showed up, Black women, brown women, and men, but women, most especially Black women, led the way when it came to, and our young people who didn't really get the credit for what they did in 2018. And so midterms are very hard, and we know there's a lot of disappointment out there, but we've got to connect the dots on who's on the ballot and who's not in 2022. And so that's why we decided to really hone in on this campaign to say, if we can get to the numbers we got in 2018, at least, then we think we can have moved the ball. We want to do more, but if we can get there, we know. And if we get to 2014 numbers for those who follow elections, that's not a good thing. That's not a good day for what we're trying to get done in this movement. So that's our target. So now we will hear. So thank you, Christina, and thank you, Daryl. Thank you for your leadership. And I know with you all at the helm, we're gonna be all right. Again, can I get an amen through the waves? Next, we will hear, we have some messaging updates from our sister, Dr. Delisa Saunders, who serves as our senior policy advisor for the National Coalition and Black Women's Roundtable, and our messaging guru and our Gwen McKinney, campaign director of Unerased Black Women Speak. There's some recent research in the last few months that have come out. One, Delisa will talk about our Black Women's Roundtable Essence poll, and Gwen will talk about this robust research that was done recently. And the Black Women's Roundtable Essence research was done, commissioned by Brilliant Corners, and the one that Gwen led and we'll talk about was done by Hit Strategies. So these were definitely two of our premier Black polling agencies. And so turn it over to you, ladies.
Certainly, the Essence poll that was conducted showed that we have a lot of anxiety. Black women have a lot of anxiety, regardless of our age group, the generation that we were grown in our current situation. And they sort of fell into 3 general buckets. The slides, please. 3 buckets. With economic concerns. We have more days in the month than we have money. Women's issues, and then racism, discrimination, and safety. Could you bring up the slides for us, please? And in terms of economic conditions, half of women say that it is worsening. That's the top line, one of the top lines for us. And again, regardless of the age group or the generation, it was very high for all groups. The next thing that's very interesting is that the majority disapprove of the job Congress is doing. So that's going to be very important as we move into voter contact and things like that. Next slide.
One second. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. No, sorry, go ahead.
Next slide. Next slide. Next one. Okay. And then and then to the next slide. And this final slide shows the top line areas and categories of issues that it's not even a plate anymore, it's a platter. And as we can see, from affordable housing, Social Security, Medicare, top issues, living while Black, and everything from criminal justice, police reform, racial profiling, holding bad cops accountable, freedom to make our own reproductive health decisions, violence against women, y'all, discrimination and systemic racism, lowering taxes for working families, protecting our voting rights. Everybody's passionate about that. And rising costs of living. These are our top line platter of anxiety that we uncovered in March. And now I'm going to turn it over to Gwen, who has conducted more recent research and is more focused on it, the types of messages and ways to be impactful. Gwen?
Thank you so much. I want to thank our sister leader, Mel, who just, she astounds me. I get tired. This presentation just made me energized and also tired simultaneously because we got a lot of work to do. And I just want to start out by saying, for those of you who don't know, I have been partnering with Mel and the coalition for more than 30 years, but now in this new capacity, Unerased Black Women Speak is a nonprofit initiative dedicated to narrative development and content creation for, from, and about Black women. Okay, I just want to go to this first slide. We did some research. I want to underscore the fact that there's no cracks of light between our research, which was conducted between April and June, and the work that the Black Women's Roundtable and the Coalition did in February/March. What we came away with, we did do several layers and tiers of qualitative and quantitative research. And we looked at the significance of this is that our opinion research was fully conceived, managed, and conducted by Black women. The team was Black women, the researchers were Black women, and our preoccupation was with where are our sisters across every spectrum of generations and age. So we, as I said, between April and June, we did some cross-generational focus groups. We did a national poll of about 802 voters with sampling of 100 voters in Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania. And we also did 4 in-depth interviews with civic leaders. And thank you very much, BWR. Thank you very much, Helen, Salandra, and the sisters in Michigan and Pennsylvania who joined us to give us some ideas and feedback after we did the first round of research. The findings aren't surprising, but they are instructive, and they give us a compass for Unity 22 and where we need to go. Next slide. Well, My background early on was in journalism, and I was always warned, don't bury the lead. What do we have to do? I'm going to just tell you right now, we have got to fill the information void with messaging that meets our constituents, that meets the Black community where they live, with tested themes, authentic voices, relevant issues, and trusted leaders. Next slide. Back to the research. We found that for the most part, most Black women are motivated to vote for politicians who advocate for them. Like the Essence survey, we found that there were some important issues that matter to Black women, like the historical sacrifice that has been made. Do these politicians represent me? Those are two of the biggies. But the biggest detractor, the biggest barrier and obstacle facing not just Black women, but our community is not knowing enough. Not only not knowing enough about the candidates, but we're talking basics. When is the election? Where is it? Who's on the ballot? Why am I voting? Next slide. I want to just say that there are segments of voters, and thank you very much, Coalition and Unity 22, for having the understanding and clarity. This must be an intergenerational campaign, because what we found in our research, but what we know, while we say Black women are the backbone of the democracy, Black women vote, the truth of the matter is, and we're going to be real, some Black women vote. The super voters are boomers, they're 58, and the so-called silent generation. I met a woman at the Maryland primary last week, 93 years old, who said she has never missed an election in her life. Those are the super voters. Younger voters, not so much. Younger sisters, I gotta say this, we all women are we're tired, we need your help, and we can't carry this alone. We need you more than anything. So the super voters, the high opportunity voters are the ones who have voted in maybe over 1 or 2 times in the past 4 elections, but they surge. They tend to vote in presidential elections. But we also, we got to get those registered voters. Those are the ones who may be on the rolls, but between the last 4 elections, they may have voted 0 times. We got to do better than that. And I am so, so appreciative that Unity 22 is focusing on registration, because with a lot of these high opportunity and registered voters, the data is telling us it's a 50-50 chance they may show up. Next slide. So messaging matters, y'all. Messaging matters. We did in our poll, we opened the polling really with some questions about the likelihood of what would make someone vote. We inserted some sandwich meat in between, which were a number of bulleted messages which we developed and tested in the polling. And then we returned to the questions. I want you to look at that middle column, the question of how much power do you feel that your vote has to change things. Amazingly, after we probed around that message point that we have power in our vote, it changed, it shifted and moved the respondents by 34%, which is significant. And that tells you messaging matters. Next slide. We gotta feel powerful. We got to feel powerful to act powerful. So what are we doing? We're joining Unity 22 as a message partner. And I have already told Mel, whatever you need me to do, tell me and I'll do it. We are moving messages in a coaching campaign. And what it is doing, back in the day when I was on K Street, would have charged a couple $1,000s for these sessions. But guess what? Now in my nonprofit life, these sessions are totally pro bono for leaders on the ground, because guess what? Every jurisdiction, every county, every state for Black people is a battleground. The battleground is ours, right? And this is,
hey, Gwen.
I know we gotta, I'm gonna just tell you.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
go to unerasebws.com to register. Last slide, and then I'm through.
Okay.
I need to give us some light. You see this? This is the light. You see the dog, the bird, the cat, the fish. Guess what? What we do is collaborate, but we also juggle, mobilize, lead, plan, and build. And I want to leave you with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gwen. And put in the chat how folks can reach you that may want to get that pro bono messaging support.
I will right now.
Thank you. So now, drum roll, please. Thank you to everyone again. I know a lot of folks have joined who went on at the beginning, so I'll say it again. Thank you so very much for coming together for this Unity 22 national campaign launch, and for this joining us as partners, our national organization leaders, as well as our state. So now our next segment is themed, when our rights and freedoms are under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back. But added this thing, and that's fight back together, so we can be that much more effective and that much more powerful. So this next segment for the next 20 to 30 minutes is a focus around what's at stake in 22 and what we must do to leverage the power of our vote to win. And so we're going to do rapid fire, folks. Repeat after me, rapid fire. So asking folks to take 1 to 2 minutes to just give us your take, let us know, and we have it under the categories. You've heard the research. We know what the issues are. How are we going to connect those issues to get our people to see that they have the power in their hands right now? Don't be distracted, and tie those together with why it's important to vote. And as we continue to fight for our rights together, and I think it's together is what we all continue to talk about. So our next group, and we're going to go in categories around what we know are the key issues and some of our leaders who are leading in that space. So racial justice, civil rights, and the judiciary. So we're starting off with our sister leader, Maya Wiley, who's president and CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, along with Lisa Kayla Barrett, Director of Policy, NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Ladies, we turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Melanie. Thank you to all the powerful leaders who are here. I'm going to be very quick, very brief. Lisa's amazing and brilliant, and she will say many more important things. I just want to, with this theme of hope and power, I want to remind us in the context of the judiciary just how much our activity, our participation, our engagement has gotten done. You know about Ketanji Brown Jackson. We got there together in coalition, being powerful, fighting hard. We know, as qualified as she was to be a justice of the Supreme Court, they still attacked her qualifications, but we won. But it's so much more than that. So there have been 74 judges appointed by President Biden in his term. 23 of them confirmed have been Black, 23. And of those, there's 16 more are pending right now. Black women in the circuit court, one of really important, 7 Black women are now circuit court judges who were not before this administration. And in our history, we've only had 8. So that's a big impact. I say that because when we remind folks of how much their participation has mattered, it definitely helps them feel more powerful and participate. But here's the thing. And you already know this from Dobbs. You already know this because affirmative action is in the Supreme Court. You already know this because voting rights is once again in the Supreme Court out of Alabama, North Carolina. It matters who we're putting on the federal bench, district court and circuit court, not only Supreme Court, because of the 7,000 cases that go to the Supreme Court, they only hear about 100 to 150. That means we still have a lot of power when we get people on the bench who look like us, who know our experiences and who relate to what we need, and are civil rights judges. There are 102 vacancies still that we predict need to be filled. That is an important opportunity coming out of the midterms. We know how much it's going to matter to have folks voted, particularly to the Senate, that are paying attention to what we need on our courts, because that's going to make a major difference in the daily lives of all our people. And I will stop there and turn it over to Lisa.
Thanks so much, Maya, and thanks to Melanie and everyone. It's great to be here with you. So I'll do the quick rapid fire as Melanie has directed us, and just add quickly on the judicial front of what Maya was sharing is that it's really critical. And we have all been pushing LDF with the Leadership Conference and other partners, not just to have a diversity of the ethnicity of the judicial candidates, but also that they have a diversity of background and experience, right? Historically, we've seen federal judges who come from a U.S. attorney's office or the prosecutorial background. And it's been really important that we pushed with this administration, and we're continuing to push, and we need to elect senators that are in agreement with us, as Maya had said, that they come from a background of public defenders and civil rights backgrounds. We've got candidates that are currently in the pipeline: Nancy Abudu, Natasha Murrell from LDF, Nusrat Chowdhury from ACLU, that have a voting rights background. And we all know what is happening with voting rights in this country. And to have judges on the federal courts that understand what is happening for voting rights for Black people in this country is really critical. Nancy Abudu is nominated to a court in Georgia, where, you know, that's the battleground around voting rights. And so this is so important that we get people in office that are going to help us really put critical people in these seats in judicial noms. The other piece that I just want to lift up, and I see Melanie came back on, so I'm going to do it quick now, is January 6th, right? We've all been watching these January 6th hearings, and I hope that people are making the connection of what this is for the Black community. LDF submitted a statement to make sure that this connection is not lost. Black people for decades have been sounding the alarm around voter suppression and voter discrimination. All of this is related. What the voter suppression and voter discrimination that we've been experiencing, the January 6th, which was really a backlash against the voter participation that came in 2020, the gerrymandering of districts, and we're in the midst of this redistricting cycle to try to dilute the voice of Black people. All of this is related to trying to ensure that certain people are either retain or gain power, regardless of whether that aligns with the voice and vote of millions of people. And so we've got to make sure that we are getting out, and we see now it's happening right in front of us, that they're trying to dismantle and infiltrate the state and local election apparatus, right? As we head into the midterms, it's so critical that we get out and vote and make sure that the people in these positions are not ideologues, but are actually going to uphold the voice and vote of our community, so that our communities can be heard. And then the last thing that I'll just say is we're seeing this huge so-called anti-CRT movement, right? And you always hear about voting all the way down the ticket, but this is impacting what our children are learning in schools. Not that we've ever been satisfied with what our children have been learning in public schools, but now they want to whitewash it even more and even change, what is taught about the limited amount of what is taught about slavery and the history of racial discrimination in this country. And so we've got to make sure that we get out and we vote in those local elections, because that is going to happen at the school board level, and you've got to vote all the way down. So I'll stop there, Melanie.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Lisa. More to come offline, right? On the things that we need to continue to do. And thank you all so much for your leadership. And so next we will hear, and I know he's out and about, our next segment. Somebody's talking. Can you mute your phone?
Yeah, I think that's Damon's because he's at the airport.
Okay, is that Damon?
Yeah, I think it's Damon.
Okay, Damon, you can't mute. So Damon, our next is voting rights and voter protection, voter suppression. Our brother Damon Hewitt, President and Executive Director for the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Damon, I know you're in the airport. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Sister Melanie. I'm sorry for the background noise. I will be brief. Look, America is learning what racism costs us. America is learning this in the context of Dobbs, which we say is a case that's going to hurt Black women in particular. We know this. America's learning this on January 6th. We know that this was an attack that was founded on a big lie based upon fake allegations of voter fraud in majority Black cities or cities with large Black populations, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Detroit. We know what this is all about. We also saw this at the insurrection because we, at the Lawyers Committee, representing Capitol Police officers, actually, who are defending not just lives and property, but also defending democracy. And most of the officers we're representing are Black men. We know who's been standing on the front lines, and we're going to continue to do that together. Now, this midterm election is a crossroads, there's no doubt. I know it seems like we say that every time, but the stakes continue to get higher. We know that there are active omnibus voter suppression laws in states like Texas and Florida and Georgia, and we're litigating these at the Lawyers Committee and other organizations as well. Unfortunately, these rules, these repressive rules, are going to remain in place for this midterm election. We also have seen recent things like Wisconsin, essentially eliminating drop boxes for all intents and purposes. So every measure that we try to take, they try to cut us off at the pass. It's not a game to us, but it's almost like a game to them because they try to do it's like chess moves everywhere we go. But what we know we can do, and we can do together, is innovate. The first thing we have to do is make sure that each one reaches one. Everybody you know, everyone in your network has to make a plan. The second thing is everyone has to have backup. You don't go into these battles without backup. Backup is all of us in our organizations. Backup is also in the form of the Election Protection Coalition, of which many of you all are members. Make sure everybody in your network knows the hotline, 866-OUR-VOTE, 866-OUR-VOTE, and also the website, 866-OURVOTE.org. So regardless of what the rules of the road are, we know that we're going to innovate, we're going to fight together, we're going to fight in court, but we're also going to fight in communities where oppression happens most frequently, where oppression happens in terms of its epicenter, because that is the place of the greatest opportunity. When they try to silence us, that's when we're going to stand up, fight back, and do it together. So we're in solidarity with the National Coalition, with all the organizations here. We're fighting on every front, and we're going to do this in unity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Damon. We know you're in the airport and moving, and we just appreciate you. I'm going to deviate for a moment. Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner is on, and I know she's dealing with something that she has to jump on and jump off, but the faith community is doing a lot around voter protection. So I wanted to see if we could cue Dr. Barbara Skinner up, Williams Skinner up. Is she on? Is Dr. Skinner on the, she said she was on. So is she in the, so we can bring her over. That would be helpful. Is that a going once? All
She'll
right.
be on in a second now.
Okay, okay.
Oops.
Hi,
Okay.
Hey, Dr. Skinner. Good morning.
Hi there. Hi. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
So, thank you. So if you can get us updates, Barbara, in like a couple of minutes, that'll be great. I know you're in the middle of stuff. right? So we want to pull you on up on the agenda.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. I don't have to tell you that the house is on fire, the American house is on fire, and no one seems to be sounding the alarm loud enough. And so Black Americans are left with our allies to do that. In the Christian community and the faith community with Jewish and Muslim allies, we have launched in 12, now 10 states, in Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Wisconsin, a voter justice campaign that focuses on getting younger voters out, especially because that's where our community is weakest. We have hosted 9 voter education webinars on Know Your Rights training and what's at stake. We've just completed 6. We are watching meetings with secretaries of state of those 6 of our 10 states. And where we are now is we are launching what we call a lawyers and collars poll chaplain program, 2,000 poll chaplain in those areas, but we've got to add de-escalation training as well as preparation for partisan poll challengers, interrogators that are being recruited heavily right now. We have called the Justice Department, talked to Kristen Clark. We've had the Lawyers Committee and is on it, but the Legal Defense Fund has just hosted a webinar for clergy across the country. What I believe is the most important now is there's got to be a massive letter outreach to the president. He wouldn't be there but for Black people. He may other people, you can say white women got him too, but without that community who he said he would have our backs since we had his, we've not heard even the vice president talk about voting rights for the last 4 months. Sure, the bill lost, but they still have a bully pulpit, which they have failed to use to even talk. So we're calling on him to do, and we're issuing a letter with 1,000 churches, and we'll add community organization, anyone who wants to sign it, to say that he needs to have a national presidential address to the nation on the danger to democracy right now. When you have over half of the country not believing in the Constitution, what form of government are we talking about? And many are getting elected to office. So every election we say, this is the most important election ever. This time we're really telling the truth. Because if we don't get 2022 right in a midterm, when the Black vote turnout is normally, Melanie can help with the numbers, but it's under 50%. 2020, the general election, it was 70-some%. Unless we get that level of turnout in the midterm, we're not going to be strong for 2024. So we just gave Melanie a 1-pager on what we're doing. We have a toolkit. We're co-branding that with other organizations. The main thing I want you to have is a 50-state voter registration deadlines map. We can lift that out, Melanie, send that back to you. Everybody should have that because we still have 9 million unregistered African American. This is not a faith community call. This is a Black community call, and I'm grateful for the opportunity always to work with the National Coalition.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Barbara. Appreciate you sending big hugs and love to you as you deal with your family and lifting you up in your loss.
Thank you so much.
Next, we will hear from some leaders in the women's rights as well as the reproductive rights community. We had on, but she had a scheduled conflict, LaFonza Butler, president of Emily's List, but she left some information that Q will share, and then we'll hear from Dr. Thelma Daly, chair and president of the National Council of Negro Women, NCNW, and Zakiya Thomas, who is the president and CEO of ERA Coalition. And we ask everyone to please stay within your 1 to 2 minutes, please.
Who was first, Melanie?
Q, are you there, babe?
I'm here. I thought you said my name. Sorry. I think Tanya has the update from LaFonza. I didn't get it.
Okay. Well, why don't we
Tanya, are
see
you there?
Tanya, are you ready? If not, we'll come back to that. Dr. Daly, and
Yes,
then
can you hear me, Melanie?
yes,
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
we can hear you.
Yeah, first I want to thank you for organizing all of this and for your leadership. Just want to say a couple things. First of all, I want us also to realize that there's a lot of fear out there. When I talk to anybody, women, anybody, right now, there's a lot of fear. And there are a lot of people who are not voting because of their attitudes. They think it's not going to count anyway. So as we come together to put all of us together, I think we're also going to have to move beyond our webinars. And we're going to have to put on our shoes, and we're going to have to go from one community to another community in whatever way we do it, through our churches, through our groups. But I think we're going to have to take off our hats and gloves, and we're really going to have to get down really from community to community to convince our people. Otherwise, we might lose the election. I just look at the state of Maryland when we think we just went through the primaries. And on the Republican side, who was the person who won but the man who was the Trumpite, which was amazing. But I just feel right now that we all must move to the local level, the national level where we are, but we've got to get to our communities. The other thing is, I love the idea of unity. And I think we should all think about it as unity. And it doesn't matter who gets the credit. I think we should all come together in terms of this. We know the concerns, but I want to say right now we got to beat the bushes. And I don't know how we're going to beat the bushes, Melanie, but we've got to get all of our people out there and beat the bushes. We've got to come together and beat the bushes. And that's what I want to leave you with. Beat the bushes. That means we're getting to the local level. We are going to, in some way, allay the fears of people, and we are going to have to change the attitudes, but we're going to have to beat the bushes.
Yes, ma'am.
The bushes.
Beat the bushes.
Beat the bushes.
And say, thank you so much, Dr. Daly, and you're right on point. And most definitely, in this week, we're going to be beating the bushes in Michigan and Ohio. Next, Zakia Thomas, President and CEO, ERA Coalition.
Thank you so much, Melanie. We're so excited to be a part of this campaign and to help raise awareness and push forward to have more equal rights across the nation. So at the Equal Rights Campaign, our first and foremost mission is to get the Equal Rights Amendment posted and published into the Constitution so we can all enjoy equality as a lived reality. So we're excited to be a part of this because we have our Elect Equality campaign, which is where we highlight champions for equality across the federal level and in certain states that are looking to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. But the point for all of this is we need a stronger level of protection in the Constitution. Right now, as a Black woman, I know that my rights are tenuous. They're up for anyone to grab if I don't hold tight and fight for them. So that's one of the reasons we want to be part of this coalition, and we're looking forward to helping to uplift equality, uplift our partners, and make sure that people get out to vote, because as it's been said, we have to vote. They're taking our rights left and right. And so we need to stand up and we need to stand tall, and we know what we can do when we work together. So we're excited to be part of this movement, part of the campaign, and look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you so much, Zakia, and thank you for taking on that leadership at the ERA Coalition. And thank you, Jennifer Tucker. Your right hand, my sister, I see her on as well. Thank you so very much. Next, we will hear from our sister leader, Victoria Kirby York, Deputy Executive Director of the National Black Justice Coalition, to really connect the dots about what's from the LGBTQ plus rights community. Victoria.
Thank you, sister, and thank you for your leadership. I'm so excited to be with all of you today and to talk about the importance of this upcoming midterm election. In 2018, our community and so many others were able to stand firm and take back state houses folks didn't think we would, and win state houses folks didn't think we would, and were able to stop the most extreme elements of the conservative ideology from being able to hold a national convention for the first time since the founding of our nation that would have been able to rewrite the US Constitution and their ideology. And then in 2020, against all odds, we did it again and we're able to get even more, some additional wins. And we've got to buck down and make sure that we have folks who see what's at stake. The thing that we were able to prove, especially in 2020, is that our loyalty and our labor is not for free. Our loyalty and our labor is not for free as a Black community. We must be listened to, and we must have the opportunity to show leadership in ways that matter. We've seen that happen in this administration, and more can be done if we can really win the US Senate and not have a 50-50 split, but have numbers that can help us push these things through. The issue number one for the Black LGBTQ community is the Equality Act. When it was talked earlier in Bishop Daughtry's prayer about living while Black, that's what the Equality Act would help be able to add much needed protections in transportation, like taxis and Ubers, retail, such as when we're followed in stores, publicly funded programs, and also the intersections of all that make us who we are. Many of us don't know, and some of us sometimes forget that Black women were not included in all parts. Women in general were not included in all parts of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Equality Act gets us that fixed and also allows us to get LGBTQ plus and same gender loving folks included as well. I know my time is running short, so I just want to say as a reminder that we are all in this together. We saw what the Supreme Court is willing to do in gutting the 14th Amendment, one of our amendments that was created because our community needed citizenship after the end of slavery. Equal protection under the law is something that Dobbs and that abortion decision put at risk for so many communities. And with the right Senate and the right folks in power, we can make sure that rights for the most marginalized in this community, including the LGBTQ plus community, and especially those of us who are Black and live at that intersection, remains the gem of our Constitution.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sister Victoria. Thank you for your leadership, and looking really forward to working closely with you and David and your whole team and the broader LGBTQ community. So all of our rights are under attack. It's all of us. And we're going to, and I believe together we definitely will win. It's not going to be easy, but our answers went through a whole lot more than we are. So we're going to do what we got to do. I want to go back. I think I misunderstood Q, so apologize for that. Tanya with Emily's List, if you're still on, can you give us a quick update from Emily's List?
We think she is no longer on, Mel.
Okay, if you can see if you can try to get her, we'll bring her back.
Okay.
Thank you, Q. Next, we will hear from some of our civil rights leaders and policy leaders around criminal justice and policing reform. I'm going to lift up, although she wasn't able to make it, but they're on board fully, and that's National Action Network under Reverend Sharpton and Ebony Riley, who's the vice president, could not be here based on travel. But we do, I believe we still have Nicole Lee. And Nicole, I don't want to mess up your last name, so I'm going to have you say it. I think it's Ndumeli, but just in case I mess that up, clean it up for me, please. Senior Vice President, Rights and Justice from the Center for American Progress. Is she still on?
I am. Thank you so much, Melanie. You did it well. Nicole Ndumeli from the Center for American Progress. Thank you for having us here today and inviting us to be in this critical campaign with all of you. So this is a critical moment for criminal justice reform. President Biden entered the office at really a high watermark for criminal justice and policing reform, following the protests by many people in this campaign, in the Black Lives Matter movement, civil rights organizations, everyday people in South Minneapolis, across the country, and really around the world. to demand not only justice for George Floyd, but for an end to systemic violence against Black people that has been endemic to law enforcement for more than 400 years. But even with this renewed national conversation on racism and policing and widespread support for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, we know it has stalled in the Senate for over 2 years. So we really learned that necessary and popular legislation to realize a fair criminal justice system is stymied without congressional majorities. We have to get out and vote, get beyond this razor thin majority, and prevent a conservative control of Congress. That's how we're going to get policing reform passed. That's how we're going to mobilize and protect our communities. But we didn't stop there with just voting and getting people into Congress. We kept fighting, and President Biden acted alone with the policing executive order, representing some of the most substantial federal action on policing reform since George Floyd's murder, after the Senate failed to pass the Policing Act. But we also know that that's not going far enough. It can't, because the executive order is going to be limited to federal law enforcement agencies. So we still desperately need legislation to ensure just policing for these 18,000 police departments that are not going to be governed by a federal executive order. That's why we have to leverage the vote and make clear to Congress that we need to push forward and make progress on policing in America. And while we fought hard over these past 2 years, the fight has never been more important than right now, in this moment, in this vote. Because right now we're facing a clear and existential threat to criminal justice reform. The rising crime numbers during the pandemic have added fodder to conservatives looking to turn back the clock and revive the failed law and order policies of the 1994 crime bill that we know lead to over-policing and mass incarceration, and that have just devastated Black communities. We must mobilize, we must fight back to avoid the mistakes of the 1990s and fight to protect the hard-fought gains that make our communities safer and more just. We're honored to be in unity with all of you to do just that, to leverage our vote and to build just communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And that's why we say we gotta stand up, fight back, and we gotta vote. We gotta do it all. We gotta do it all. So thank you so very much. Looking forward to working with you and Patrick. Thank Patrick Gaspard for his leadership, and we're looking forward to working even more with you all in this time. Next, we will hear from our leaders, a couple of our leaders in the labor movement, focus on workers' rights and economic justice. And that's going to be Kairu Crimes, who's Black Civic Engagement Director for SEIU, and Kenny Diggs, Assistant Political Director for ASPE. I'm going to lift up our sister Cleola Brown, who could not be with us, but she's one of our lead partners when it comes to working with the labor community. Cleola Brown, National President, APRI. So we'll hear from Kairu and then Kenny.
Thank you, Sister Melanie. And hello, everyone. Happy to be here. So I'll make sure to keep it brief. But just to quickly say, SEIU is incredibly honored and as well as committed to being a part of the Unity campaign, because frankly, unity is the key to victory. Our work is centered in linking the fights because we're all in this together, and these are all our fights. The stakes are too high to fight in silos. The stakes are too high to give up and not fight at all. The stakes are even too high to fight halfway. Look, our power is under attack. Power over our present, our future, our quality of life, even our own bodies. So again, we're all in this together. Worker rights are under attack, and this has economic and social impacts that go far beyond the immediate. We know there's no racial justice without economic justice, and that all these fights are undoubtedly linked, and we cannot think of them as separate battles. The same forces attacking worker rights are the same forces attacking racial justice, economic justice, climate justice, LGBTQ plus rights, reproductive rights, voting rights, and so on and so on. The work we are doing is not new, but it remains essential and continuous. We must galvanize and exert our force utilizing one of the most powerful tools that we have, our right to vote. If it were not so, they would not be working so hard and striving so intently to undercut that power or even take it away completely. But we also need to make sure that we are empowering and engaging in our communities the right ways to make sure they feel motivated and supported with the information, tools, and resources to effectively participate in the political process, with a particular emphasis on multicultural and multi-generational power building. Our youth engagement work is a huge part of that. But look, Black voters and voters of color are not a monolith. There are real life circumstances that make folks feel like they're beat down and forgotten. Folks are working 2 and 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. Folks are making tough economic choices daily. Folks have cars they're not driving because they can't put gas in them. People are working not to thrive, but just to survive and make it to the next paycheck. We have to meet people where they are and stand strong with and in our communities. So again, the stakes are just too high to fight separately. We must do it together in a spirit of unity and justice. So thank you.
And now we're here. Is Kenny still there? There you go.
Yep.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And I also bring greetings from President Saunders. I wanted to just say briefly that we want to thank you, Melanie, for your leadership in bringing us all together. Because if you look at all the people that have spoken, the great leaders that are in the queue, it shows the power of this moment. As Kairu talked about, workers' justice isn't just for labor unions. And more importantly, we've heard it over and over again about how critical this moment is. For us at AFSCME, we know that too many of these elections have in our lifetime have been have laid too much on a life or death. It is not about thriving. It is about literally life or death for us. And we have to stop that. And the way that we do that is exactly following your leadership, Melanie. And when we stand together, we win. And so we know that economic justice can tie us together, but we know that it cannot be about credit. It has to be, it can't be about 100% agreement on all of our issues. Labor is understood that and understands that, especially during the Black Lives Matter movement. We have been reached out to be help in talking about some of the sensitive issues that we have. But what we have to do is stand together in this moment, and not just in November, but beyond, to create real and lasting change and call accountability to legislation that will help our folks, especially Black Americans in this country. So I want to thank you again for your leadership. I want to thank you for bringing us all together. And I look forward to being in the trenches and beating the bushes with you this year.
Thank you, Kenny, and thank you. Please send our love and appreciation to Lee and the whole AFSCME family. We appreciate you all, and ready to go hard. Appreciate it. And I say have some fun while we fight too. Let's be real clear, right? We gotta have joy in this thing, because that it gets to be too heavy if we don't. And so if we could have, we'd have had a party tied to this, because we got to do that too, because our people got to know, when it comes to this fight, we can have joy in the fight. So we definitely looking forward to connecting with you, and when we can all be off of this Zoom very, very soon. So thank you so much, Kenny. Next, we will hear from some of our leaders focus around education and student loan debt. So we will hear from our brother, Brandon Cahey, Senior Program Policy Analyst and Specialist for the National Education Association. Following him will be Dr. Regina Thomas, Co-Director for the Women, Human Rights, and Community Relations Department of the American Federation of Teachers. Turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm elated to bring you greetings on behalf of our president, Becky Pringle, who leads our association's 3 million education professionals as the country's largest labor union. Thank you, Melanie, for gathering us for this very important conversation. We on this call know that when we fight, we win. We saw this particularly when we all stood up under the leadership of Black women leaders and allies represented here to ensure the confirmation of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. When we looked at Justice Jackson's story, we could see all of us in her story, because we all have overcome great obstacles to make our country a better, more equitable place for us all. And at this very moment, We see the rights of so many Americans, including those rights of our students, being challenged by disinformation and hate. We see our communities being attacked by racist and hate-filled individuals rooted in white supremacist ideologies. We see many of our fundamental rights being stripped before our very eyes. So it's very important that in November, we elect candidates at every level in every state, from gubernatorial offices to school boards, who stand with us and will represent all Americans, meaning that they both respect and reflect all Americans. Candidates who know that every student must have the access and opportunities to set them up to not only succeed, but thrive. Candidates that understand that our educators, as the practitioners in the classrooms, must be able to teach the honest and accurate truth of this nation's history. Candidates that understand there must be something done about the insurmountable student loan debt, which we know impacts both our educators and our students alike. So as these many challenges are showing up at the front doors of our public schools, NEA members will continue to work to create safe, just, and equitable schools grounded in our students' humanity and respect for our educators. We'll defend our democracy by strengthening voting rights so people can vote to support the foundation of that democracy, public education. We will continue to not only fight, but win alongside everyone here and viewing this webinar, because our students are depending on us. When we fight, we win. Thank you.
Great job, Brendan. Great job, great job. I echo what Brendan says, and on behalf of American Federation of Teachers and our 1.7+ million members around the country, we come and gladly join everyone that's on this call today. If one of us is in trouble, it is all of us that are in trouble. Those issues that affect you affect us. There is not an issue that does not affect us in education, from climate control to guns to food insecurity, student loans. Student loans is so impactful that it is reduced the number of Black and brown teachers in our system. It is a study done that when Black and brown students have Black and brown teachers, they have a greater chance of going on to college and being able. So it is important that we fight together on all of these issues. Food insecurities, if our children show up and they in fact have not been fed, then it affects their attitude the rest of the day. COVID allowed the opportunity for the light to be shown on our system to see some things that had been hidden, whether it's those issues of HVAC, food insecurities, or the like. And so we at the American Federation of Teachers join you in order to make this fight in this next election paramount and important, that each and every one of us do all that we can do to make sure that each and every person that we know within our sphere of influence shows up and votes, shows up and vote. And so on behalf of the American Federation of Teachers, I am grateful to join you today to do whatever it takes to take this fight on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Regina. Thank you so very much. And thank you and Brandon so much, very much. We're looking forward to fighting the fight and winning. Next, we will hear from our sister, Felicia Davis from the Environmental Justice Movement. Felicia is director of HBCU Green Fund, and you will hear from her a little later on down on the agenda as well, because she leads our Clayton County Black Women's Roundtable. Sister Felicia, turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Melanie, and so pleased to be here with everyone on this call, getting ready for this great work that we must get done. So from the environmental justice perspective, our community had high expectations with the Biden-Harris administration and a major setback in the climate arena. So just when we thought we were making huge progress, the Supreme Court dealt our community a major blow, kind of stopping the climate action in its step. So what that does mean is that we have an opportunity to galvanize that community and bring it fully into our GOTV work in a way that it maybe hasn't been before, because I think the environmental community has worked on its own track, so to speak, with EJ being a bit of a bridge. Now we're front and center. So it adds yet another issue, especially for galvanizing young people, where they may not respond to our traditional civil rights, voting rights appeal. They have been in the lead on just as much criminal justice, certainly environmental justice. So to keep it very brief, that is a rallying cry I think that we can leverage in our messaging. And up and going with communities reeling a bit, didn't expect this result or this moment, but with the world responding to climate change with everything on fire, our country, again, yet another major global area that we are trying to go back.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Felicia. Thank you so very, very much. And we know there are other issues, but we pulled out and just wanted to lift up, like, why, what is at stake? And so we wanted to give a broad capture through the leadership of those who are actually on the front lines leading in these spaces to really help us kind of bring it home in this virtual launch and organizing meeting. So next we're gonna move to our next phase of this launch and organizing meeting with the headliner is the power of coalition and organizing updates. So we're gonna hear from some of our national partners, and then following them will be from our state partners who are on the ground in community every day, who can bring it home for us to close us out. So the first voice we will hear next is from personal privilege, my national president of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, who's also the chair of our national board, Ms. Elsie Cook Holmes. Following her, we will hear from Bishop Leah Daughtry, founder and co-convener of Power Rising. And I'm going to call on three at a time so we can move quickly. Next, we will hear from, I believe I saw my brother Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. And I think he's representing himself as well as our sister Latasha Brown. So Sorry President Elsie Cook Holmes, Bishop Leah Daughtry, and our brother Cliff Albright, in that order. And 1 to 2 minutes all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Melanie. I am Elsie Cook Holmes, National President and Chair of the National Board of Directors for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I am here representing Delta's over 350,000 initiated members across the United States and the globe. First, I would like to thank you, my sister and member of the Delta's National Social Action Commission, Melanie Campbell, for the vision and the bold leadership you continue to provide day in and day out. Thank you so much, Sarah Campbell. There is no better time for us now to align our actions and sync our strategies as we work collectively to save and protect democracy in this country. From rapid Jim Crow-esque laws, voter restriction laws, to a women's right to choose, women losing that right to choose, to a need for comprehensive criminal justice reform, to students gaining protections from crippling loan debt. The issues that we are facing are disproportionately affecting our communities across this country, and they demand effective and equitable solutions for our lawmakers, but through all of us. That is why we, the members of Delta Sigma Theta and our over 900 chapters, stand ready to engage our communities to exercise the right to vote this November. As we've done since our founding in 1913, we'll continue to register, educate, motivate, and mobilize voters to ensure that all of our voices are heard and protected at the polls. As a partner in this Unity 22 campaign, please know that Delta Sigma Theta is standing shoulder to shoulder with you, with all that you're doing to be sure that we are making our voices heard in this most important consequential election in recent history. The coalition is sure to be the difference maker in November And you have my word that we will do all that we can to power the vote and fight against historic attacks on our rights, freedom, safety, and democracy. We know the power of unity. We know the power of our collective unity. So now let's go win together.
Good morning, sisters, brothers, family, all. I am Leah Daughtry, and I am here today with multiple hats, but most importantly for this moment as co-convener of Power Rising, along with Mignon Moore. We are an intergenerational force of women that comes together to leverage our power, our social, economic, and political power for the advancement of our communities. We know the importance of our vote, the importance of our communities, and so we are honored and excited to join this coalition as we look forward to November and how we can mobilize ourselves. And we know that when Black women go to vote, we don't vote by ourselves. We take our church, our block, our family, and our union with us to the polls. And so we are committed and standing in solidarity with our sisters and with all of the women who, in my other hat, are part of the Black Women's Leadership Collective, coalition of national Black women's organizations, from the AKAs to my sister Elsie at the Delta Sigma Theta, the Links, SG Row, all of the national Black women's organizations. We are bound together, working together, gathered together to mobilize our sisters, to take their families, their church, their unions, their block, and themselves to the polls this November, because we know that when we turn out to vote, we are the difference makers for any election. And we've heard the call of the vice president that we need 2 more senators to get our agenda done, to get the legislation passed that we need in our communities. This is not about partisanship. This is about progress. And we are very clear what the choices are in terms of moving our communities and our nation forward. Our nation is in peril. It is, that is not hyperbole, as the president would say. That's the facts. Our nation is in peril. We are looking at our rights being stripped away one by one by one by one. And I don't know about you. I am the daughter of enslaved people, and I am not going back to a time when I couldn't make decisions about my body. I don't think any of us want to go back to a time when the government was in charge of us, when the slave master told us what we could and could not do. We're not going back. And so Power Rising is committed with all of our sisters, with all of our labor union brothers and sisters, with all of the organizations that Melanie has so deftly pulled together, to moving our communities forward, to banding side by side, linked arm in arm, to do everything that we can to mobilize our networks and to be in solidarity with you as we look forward to November 2022.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just want to say thanks to Melanie and the entire team for pulling this together. I'm gonna say 4 things really quickly. 2 things talking about what it is that we're working on at Black Voters Matter, and a couple of things talking about what we need collectively for our collective success. Again, I'm Cliff Albright, Black Voters, co-founder, executive director of Black Voters Matter. We are doing work this year in 26 different states, either directly through staff or through partnerships and partner networks of community-based groups. Part of that work is going to include the Blackest Bus in America, traveling all around the country, supporting community groups and various events. And so if you're somebody that, and we'll be working with many of the organizations that are on this call right here, if you're somebody who wants to get involved, get connected, or wants a visit from the Blackest Bus, then go on and send a text We Matter to 25225. We Matter, one word, to 25225. Second thing, in terms of what we're doing, I think this goes back to something that Dr. William Skinner said earlier. You know, we need to, as we're going around talking about these elections, and we're talking about everything from Senate all the way down to DAs and sheriffs and things of that nature. But as we're going around and trying to get these extra people in governance, we need commitments, right? We know about the battle for voting rights, and that battle is not over, but we started a voting rights contract in order to get candidates to pledge up front what it is that they're willing to do for voting rights and for modifying the filibuster. And not even just for voting rights, but that needs to be modified for other things like abortion rights, right? And so many other things. We've got to get those commitments up front. We got to get signed contracts up front, or else we run the risk of sending a couple extra people to Senate or to whatever level of governance, and only to find out that they're not actually going to do the things that we thought that they were going to do. So again, you can text us to get connected to that work. Real quick, what are 2 things that we need for our collective success? One, we've got to believe, the power of belief. There's going to be a lot of people over the next 4 or 5 months talking about what it is that Black voters can do and won't do and haven't done. And we've got to believe in the power. We've got to believe that we have power, that we've got the power to shape this country. And then the last thing that I'm going to say, along with that belief, the other thing that is absolutely critical is that, and this is the thing that Melanie wanted us to talk about, the power of our unity, of us working together, right? When we work together, our history shows us that we can win. We got to remember what Brother Malcolm said. We are not oppressed because we are Christian or Muslim, because we're male or female, because we light skin or dark skin. We are oppressed because we are Black. And we have got to have as much clarity and unity in fighting against it as those who are against us have had in implementing that oppression. When we have our belief and when we work together in unity the way that Melanie has called for, our history shows us that we win. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Brother Cliff, and your whole team, Latasha, I'll be on that bus, so leave me a seat. And it's the power of belief. And thank you so much from Sarah President Elsie, as well as Bishop Leah. And I know that, like, as we all said together, we have to win. We have to win, right? And we know it's not going to be one-off win. We're going to have to push this for a number of years down the road to push back against the attacks on us. So next I'm going to lift up, I don't think she was trying to make it, but just in case, I'm not sure if Julie Green Collier, Deputy Chief of Staff for AFL-CIO, if she's on, I'm not sure. But I do know that Joteka Edie, convener, Win with Black Women, founder and convener of Win with Black Women, is on. And I believe Stephanie Brown James, co-founder, executive director of the Collective Education Fund, is on. And Marge Baker, executive vice president, People for the American Way, is on. So if Julie's not on, we'll hear from Joteka and Stephanie and Marge. Is Joteka on, or Stephanie still?
I am here.
Okay,
Hello.
all right.
My beautiful friend, my sister, my soror. It is such an honor and indeed a pleasure to be in coalition with so many allies, friends in this movement, and so many sisters. I really want to just bring greetings and coalition and sisterhood on behalf of Win with Black Women. Win with Black Women is a network of Black women leaders who come together in our personal capacity. We have come together since August of 2020. We came together because we saw what we knew and what continues to be racism and sexism that continues to plague the narrative. And what we came together to say, and what we will continue to say, is not on our watch. What we know in America is that Black women, we win when we are together, and America wins with us. We know, as it has already been said by so many of my sisters, that when Black women go to the polls, we don't just take ourselves, we take our communities with us. We take our families with us. We take our social organizations with us. We take our sororities with us. We take everyone with us to the polls. And for so many years, we as Black women, we have taken democracy over the line with us. And we are so committed. The women of Win with Black Women, in coalition with all of our sisters, we are committed to doing everything that we know we must do to ensure that we take democracy over the line again in November of 2022. As our brother Clifford just said, and it was so important, it is important for us to understand our power. Everything that is happening around us is about power. The attack on voting rights is about power. The attack on our reproductive rights is about power. The attacks that we see over and over and over again in this country is about power. And it's important for us to understand our own power. It is important for us to understand that there is a power in our collective ability to come together, that there is power in our ability to speak truth to power. It is power in our ability to just be in community and in coalition. And we have to take that power and harness that power and take it to the polls in November of 2022 and ensure that we are elected into office people who will stand for us on the issues that we know are vitally important, such as voting rights, our reproductive rights, and ensuring that we can live and walk and thrive in this country with the dignity that we all deserve. So we stand in coalition with this great campaign. We are standing and ready to do what it takes to make sure that we once again do it again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sister Joteka. I'm not sure if Stephanie's on. I think she had to step away. Oh, she is on. Okay. All right, Stephanie, thank you. And then following her will be Marge Baker.
Thank you so much, Sora Melanie. I can't thank you enough for the leadership you continue to provide to all of us. You are the great convener, and it is a privilege to stand with you. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Stephanie Brown James, co-founder of the Collective Education Fund, and along with our sister organization, Collective Future, a 501c4 organization, in 2020, we were able to execute one of the largest Black voter engagement programs in the country by registering over 189,000 voters, providing over 100,000 free rides to the polls, 75,000 of those rides in Georgia alone during the runoff elections, and spending over $6.5 million on radio just to target underreached Black communities. I say this all to say that none of that would have been possible without on-the-ground partners, without unity, without coalition, without collaboration. So it is truly exciting for us to be a part of Unity 2020, but also we could not have done this work and all the work that we've talked about if it were not for resources. So my word today to all of us is 1, let's be hopeful, as my brother Cliff said. 2, as my past national president, Sora Daly said, we must be on the ground, but we must make sure that we have the resources required to be effective. So let's all talk to those in our community who have not given yet this cycle. People think that $1 and $5 and $10 don't add up, but they do when you give it on a monthly basis. All of us need resources to do this work. So let's make sure that we are digging deep in our communities, asking them to not only volunteer, but also to give some change to make sure we can make change in our communities. There are donors who are sitting on the sidelines right now, not supporting the nonprofit, nonpartisan work that we all have going on. This is the time for us to call them all to the carpet, that we cannot afford to have them wait until September and October to help us do this critical work, which is most necessary now. So please know that the Collective Education Fund, Collective Future, we stand with you. We are excited for the work that Unity 2020 will surely do to change, to protect democracy in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I like that award in the background. That's one of our Spirit of Democracy honorees, and so it's really good to see you, and thank you so very much. Next, we'll hear from Marge Baker, Executive Vice President, People of the American Way. Following her is Reverend Michael McBride, Director of Urban Strategies, Live Free Campaign, and following Reverend Pastor Mike will be Holly Holiday, Esquire President, Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote. Marge, Pastor Mike, and Holly.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I am honored and privileged to be representing our president, Ben Jealous, who couldn't be here today. And I am humbled to be on this call with such incredible leaders. And Melanie, I can't tell you how much I treasure and respect your organizing and your leadership. It's it's incredible and it's inspiring, and it's so much a privilege to be part of this. We are in this, People for is in this, and I will repeat what a lot of people have said, the stakes could not be higher. This is a midterm election where the stakes could not be higher. It is essential that we do this in unity with one another, and we are here to help in any way that we possibly can. And it is about so many of the issues we talked about. It is about the courts. It is about racial justice. It's about economic justice. It's about environmental justice. It's about LGBTQ equality. We can go on and on and on. Every single issue we care about is at stake in these elections, and we have to do this together. And the last thing I will say, I really appreciate Stephanie's call to fund this. With this, we can't wait to the last minute to fund the effort that is required here. So I want to shout out that, and just again say, privilege and honor People for is in this to do whatever we can. The stakes could not be higher. The issues are critical, and our power is our vote, and we need to exercise that. So thank you so much.
It's great to be here with everyone. My name is Michael McBride. I serve as the National Director for the Live Free USA Network. Also as one of the co-conveners and founders of the Black Church PAC, Black Church Action Fund. And we are super excited to always be in partnership with the great mother, Elder Melanie Campbell, and this wonderful table of comrades and freedom fighters. And we are indeed in a moment where our unity must be seen as our greatest weapon against all of these forces that are coming against us. I want to just flag two quick things as it relates to what we think must be on the agenda for us moving forward. President Biden has just announced a $37 billion crime response to crime framework that will include $13 billion to hire 100,000 more police officers over the next 5 years across the country. We are hearing that there are moderate Democrats in the House who are asking for the Democrats to really make a big play for increasing police funding. And what we know is that literally we have, the 1994 crime bill that had the same exact provision, 100,000 more cops into the communities. And it took us over 25 years just to get a movement to push back on that narrative. I am concerned that this moment requires us to have a unified narrative and pushback against adding 100,000 more police in a moment when we can't even get police reform or accountability bills passed across the federal, state, and even many local jurisdictions. And so our work will continue to hopefully push this framework that we have to keep reimagining public safety. We acknowledge that there are indeed significant challenges around violence in our communities, but can we imagine that 100,000 police officers over the next 5 years without a guarantee who will be the next president, that we are making ourselves so vulnerable to another failed response to gun violence and crime in our communities without having scaled up the kind of targeted interventions that we know save lives. And so our work in Live Free and with the Black Church networks that we are organizing along with some of our younger movement friends will be to continue to make sure we keep a reimagining public safety conversation, that we hold elected officials accountable to not running on tough on crime policies and or campaigns in order to secure votes. We think this will drive away younger voters, and certainly many of us who've been working in the criminal justice reform and reimagining public safety space. The Black Church Action Fund is excited to have several initiatives that are going to be rolling out starting in August. We've been at all the summer conventions for the major Black church denominations that include the AME, Church of God in Christ, the PAW, some other significant spaces. And we're asking congregations to make sure they are 100% voting congregations. And we're going to set up some tools with our engagement Rocks platform to help them do that. We're pushing voter Sabbaths and what we're calling hope and healing concerts that we'll do throughout the next 3 months that will be tied to Souls to the Polls efforts, setting up massive textathon and voter registration campaigns and phone banking campaigns. And so we're excited to do our part as we come to cities and counties and states where some of our partners are. We would love to partner with you, invite you to co-sponsor, invite you to set up booths, amplify the work you're doing as well. Again, our unity is our greatest weapon in this moment. And I appreciate Mother Melanie for giving us an opportunity to join this great coalition. God bless everyone. Blessings on your work.
Thank you, Pastor. But you know, I'm your baby sister.
I'll take it, baby sister, mother. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Mike. Holly, and then we're going to move Deborah Scott, who I know is in Georgia. I'll pull her up because she has something she's got to get to. So after Holly Holiday, Deborah Scott from Georgia, stand up. You're on mute, Holly.
It is always a pleasure to be in community with the National Coalition. I feel like I just came on back home. Probably most of what I learned in doing this work, I learned from Melanie and from Tanya and from Daryl and now Q. And so I appreciate being in community. It is all about unity. When we are unified, we are utilizing our force multiplier, because we know that Black people not only lead our communities, but that we are influential in leading concentric circles of all the communities in which we sit. Here at Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote, we are focused on Black women as a force multiplier in the political space. Specifically, we're going to be looking at in about 11 states, organizing strategy conversations on the C4 side, ensuring that folks understand the plan and the connection. We talk about the importance of reproductive rights. We talk about the importance of environmental rights. We talk about the importance of civil rights and voting rights, but we need to make sure that voters understand the connection between that and what happens during these elections. And that's Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote's charge. We're also going to be running an extensive digital outreach to make sure that folks can absorb the information in small bites, to ensure that we are not leaving younger voters behind. And then finally, and I think probably most importantly, we're going to be training and enabling sister leaders from across the country to lift up their voices. We want to see Black women's voices in op-eds. We want to see Black women's voices in social media constructs. We want to see them on television, on radio. Everywhere where we feel like our voices need to be heard, we want to make sure that they show up there. And we're going to do that as part of the work of this campaign. Melanie, thank you so much for having me. It is always a pleasure to be in community with you. I'm scared to say you're my big sister, but you really are, and my lifetime mentor.
Thank you,
as
Holly.
well as chair of our board.
Yes, that's my fifth job, right? But you make it easy. You make that one easy. Thank you so very much. Deborah Scott from CEO Georgia Stand Up. Following Deborah will be Corey Salter, Black Engagement Director, Building Back Together. And then I think it's Lakila Simmons, National Director, Higher Heights Leadership Fund. And closing out this segment of our meeting, then we close out with Reggie Weaver, Respect My Vote National Campaign Manager, Hip Hop Caucus. Deborah, I turn it over to you, my sister.
So when our votes are under attack, what do? We stand up and we fight back. And that's what we've been doing. Here in Georgia, we just had a rally yesterday with the NCBCP. We marched together with the NCBCP on reproductive justice. We have 12 interns that were just about to graduate this summer. And we have been working on the front line here in Georgia. Today, we actually have training for our canvas leads across the state. So far, we have already, let's see, here in Georgia, we have already had 13,000 conversations, 73,000 doors knocked, and 38,000 households canvassed. So we have already started this campaign. We kicked it off on January 31st. We had a primary and a runoff, and now we are getting ready for this general election. And as we're telling people, we're not talking about just 2022. We're preparing the infrastructure for 2024. This is a practice run, y'all. So we're organizing, strategizing, and mobilizing. We have young people that we are training and will continue to train throughout this year on how to organize, but also we are training other organizations on how to use the van, how to phone bank, how to canvas. So if you're in need of training on the ground, we have a 10,000 square foot office called the Movement Center, and we are training movement leaders now. We stand in coalition, of course, with the National Coalition of Civic Participation and the Black Women's Roundtable. We will be there on Wednesday on the front line at the Supreme Court with you, Mel, and we'll continue to do our work here in the South. So when we fight back, we win. So that's what our C4 is. When we vote, we win. We vote, we win. And that's the message. We're going to translate these issues to our community, but we're really doing a lot of popular education and getting people to understand what it takes to vote, how to vote, why to vote, where you can go get a free ID. What do you do? So when we fight back in terms of voter suppression, what we're doing is saying you got to get educated. That's how you fight back. You need to make sure you know where your polling location is. Make sure you know where you can get a free ID. Make sure you know where the water is going to be. So we have an orange book, which is akin to the green book, which is telling people all across the state where they can go and get their free IDs. When we fight back, we win. And that's what we're doing here in Georgia under the leadership of Helen Butler and the Georgia Coalition of the People's Agenda.
Thank you so much, Deborah.
Thank
I
you.
know you have to run, so we'll catch up. Corey, Lakila, and Reggie.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Corey Salter. I'm the Black Engagement Director for an organization by the name of Building Back Together. Thank you, Melanie, for having me on this call, and I'm happy to be in coalition with each and every one of you doing this great work. So just a little bit about Building Back Together. We're an issue-driven organization focused on advancing the Biden-Harris administration policy agenda and effectively communicating the positive impacts of these policies. So we're the only group solely dedicated to uplifting the Biden-Harris policy agenda, and we want to serve as a North Star for organizations seeking to do the same. So we know, and I know that, with this administration, everything that we wanted has not been done, but we do have to focus, kind of on the positive impacts that have came out of this administration, and figuring out how we can message that with our audience. So that's what I'm focused. That's what I'm trying to do and focusing on here at BBT. And I'm looking forward to working with everyone here in coalition. Thank you.
Thank you there. Thank you, Corey. Lakila, Reggie.
Good afternoon. My name is Lakila Stemmons, and I currently serve as the National Director for Higher Heights Leadership Fund, and I'm honored to be here today. Sister Melanie Campbell, thank you for your leadership, the invitation to stand in solidarity with so many dynamic and phenomenal Black leaders, to lend our voice to encourage our community to mobilize, be vote ready, make a vote plan, and to get out the vote. The right to vote is the cornerstone of our democracy. It is the greatest equalizer that we can have in this country. It is the right to cast one vote, one person, one vote. The attack on our voting rights comes down to the mere fact that people only attempt to take, steal, or nefariously scheme and trick you of things that they view as powerful or something that has value. We are at a time of emergency and urgency as it pertains to voting rights, the protection of our democracy, the protection of our economy, economic security for all, racial justice, reproductive freedom, and the right to safety, and most importantly, equal protection under the law. Higher Heights is the political home for Black women. Black women are the defenders and guardians of our homes, our communities, and our democracy. Higher Heights has embarked on a campaign to check off zero when it comes to there being no Black women currently serving in the U.S. Senate, governor's mansions, or the office of the President of the United States. In 2022, we have witnessed the historic nomination and confirmation and swearing in of Associate Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and we will not stop there. We have work to do. We have US senators, governors, legislatures, and judges come November that we must elect. The right to vote was bought and purchased by the bloodshed of our ancestors. We stand here today on the shoulders of phenomenal women like Ida B. Wells, Mary McLeod Bethune, Dorothy Heights, and Higher Heights North Star Shirley Chisholm, in solidarity with sisters like Melanie Campbell, Dr. Janetta B. Cole, and Sister Cleola Brown in their absence, Dr. Thelma Daly, Attorney Janice Mathis, Bishop Leah Daughtry, and Joteka Edie, as the conscience of our democracy, to declare that voting rights is the answer to demanding economic justice, racial justice, reproductive freedom, safe neighborhoods, and statehood for the District of Columbia. Sister Melanie, God bless you. And on behalf of Glenda C. Carr, Higher Heights Leadership Fund's President and CEO, thank you for allowing us to join you today and for being a Black woman who leads.
Thank you, Lakila. Thank you all for your leadership, and Glenda and your whole Higher Heights family. We appreciate you all so very much. So say when Black women lead, we win. I think Q, you said you have Reggie Weaver's update. You want to give us that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep, he had to run to his next meeting. But the Hip Hop Caucus is focused on 5 states for the midterms: Georgia, Louisiana, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And their focus is registration, election protection, and addressing voter apathy among 18 to 40-year-olds. They also have a special emphasis on helping those returning from prison to understand their voting rights. So more information about their voter engagement work can be found at www.respectmyvote.com. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And now for the final quarter of this launch, last and certainly not least, we're going to hear from some more of our state leaders, leaders in there who live in the states. That's how I like to put it. On a theme of the power is in the states and organizing updates. And we want to know what's happening on the ground in these battleground mid-Atlantic states where we are focusing on for our unity campaign. These are our state affiliate leaders and partners. And so we're going to start off with the state of Florida, and then we're going to do Florida, Georgia, and Ohio. And I'm not sure, not everybody could stay on, and we get that, but I believe Solange Benton, convener, Florida Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Florida Black Women's Roundtable, is on. I'm not sure if the Black You Vote is on. If she is, Solange will bring her on. Helen Butler, Executive Director, Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda, and Felicia Davis, convener, Clayton County, Georgia Black Women's Roundtable, and P.D. Talley, convener, Ohio Unity Coalition, co-convener, Ohio BWR, and it's on, I believe. So Solange, Helen, Felicia, P.D., and if you have a Black You Vote leaders on, bring them on.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Melanie, for your leadership and bringing us all together in this unity campaign. Marion should be on. She did have a class. She is a student at FAMU, but she's going to try to step out and come on, so hopefully she got on. But quickly, what we're doing here in Florida, we are engaging our young folks, as well as we're going to be partnered with our 4 HBCUs. We did it back in the fall. We're going to do it again coming this fall with our HBCU tour with Black Youth Vote. And so they're going to be starting that and engaging it. We're going to be putting up billboards across the state, especially around the HBCU campuses, to really make sure that the young folks are ready to vote. They go back to school in August. So we're going to be definitely putting some billboards up so they can have visual as they go in and out of the campuses. Also, we're going to be, every Monday we do a Sister to the Power talk, and we're educating across the state 30 or more, sometimes 50 sisters across the state of Florida. We're educating them on their rights, knowing their rights, that they go back out into their grassroots leaders and they go back into their communities to educate them on what we're educating them on Monday night. So we do that every Monday night. And I also invite any partners that's on the phone, if you would like to be a speaker to that group, please let me know so we can uplift your campaign and also uplift what you all do in your organization. If you have chapters or some context in Florida that we can help build together in Florida around this campaign. Also, we are working with our churches where we're doing some voter education as well, like getting your house in order with the churches. We are definitely doing personal in Florida. We chose not to do the traditional campaign, but we are doing definitely personal organizing and relationship organizing, because we want to make sure when you talk about trusted messengers that you're talking to your families, you're talking to your friends, you're talking to the people in your circles that you have influence over, to make sure that we're not missing the key component that people need to get out to vote, that they have the power. So we're talking about, you got the power to talk to your families, you got the power to talk to your churches, you got the power to talk to your children, you got the power to that who you pay a light bill or somebody asks to borrow some money or whatever, you have the influence and you have the power and you're the trusted messenger. If they trust you to borrow some money, they trust you to educate them on why they need to vote in this midterm election and educate them. So we're doing a lot of education. And we've been working with our SEIU, we're working with our labor partners, AFL-CIO, we're working with our churches. Again, I said our HBCUs, we're working with them as well. We're working with a lot of our community organizations as part of our national partners, our Black Women Roundtable activists. They're part of different organizations and leaders of different organizations across the state, the NCBCP, the Links, APRI, CBTU. We have a lot of organizations, Jobs for Justice. So we have a lot of social faith unions, organizations that we work with, and they're all coming together. They look into our leadership as well. We definitely have been successful in building the Black and Brown coalition. So we're doing that. So because right here in Florida, we have a lot going on in Florida around issues. And as we met with our young people last week, a couple of weeks ago in Orlando, from the young girls from 13 to 18, getting ready to go to college, they really have issues around schooling and also the gun violence. So we're going to make sure that we really hold on to that. So those are just, we have a lot of things going on, as you know, but we're going to cut it because we know we got other folks that
Right. Okay. And so remember, guys, 1 to 2 minutes, so we can all get in, and because the folks are having other meetings today too. Thank you, Solange. And so then, so now we'll hear from Helen Butler, Felicia Davis, Petey Talley, and then the next 3 states, and we're doing in states 3 at a time. Following them will be Maryland, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And then we're coming to the South. Okay.
Thanks, Melanie. I'm happy to be here with you. I'm Helen Butler with the People's Agenda and
Helen. We got Pete. We got. Okay, go ahead.
I thought I was after.
You are.
Okay. Thank you, Melanie. I'm Helen Butler with the Executive Director of the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda and convener of the Georgia Black Women's Roundtable. And Melanie, when we're telling the voters in Georgia, let's do it again. Let's protect our rights and freedoms. And our Unity Coalition partners here are making sure we're organizing to ensure voters are vote ready to choose a U.S. Senator, 14 congressional representatives, a governor, and 7 constitutional officers, 2 public service commissioners, and 56 state senators, 180 state representatives, and other judicial candidates and other local candidates that are on the ballot. We're getting them ready. We're already doing voter registration. We do that 365 days a year. We're, as Solandra said, focusing on educating voters to be vote ready. So what we're doing is we're doing a Your Voice, Your Vote tour that starts on August the 4th in Athens, Georgia, at one of our offices in Athens, Georgia. So we're getting people not only registered to vote, but we're educating them. We're already providing our materials, Know Your Candidates cards. We have our election calendars that we're passing out. We have a green book for voting that tells them A to Z what they need to do to be able to vote. We're working with the Jewish and Black Coalition to do a vote from the comfort of your pew with their faith-based organizations. we're getting ready. We want to see the largest turnout in Georgia, just as we did in 2020 and 2021. So all of us are organizing to do that. We're establishing our jail voter registration with a lot of the sheriff's offices across the state of Georgia and our 7 offices. So we're ready, we're mobilized, we're excited, and we are going to get it done again. So let's do it again. Let's be vote ready, and we have the power.
Thank you, Helen.
Okay. Okay, for me, I am quick. So here in Clayton, Helen Butler and Deborah Scott are moving on, with all cylinders fired. And we are directing people in to both places. Deborah Scott with phone banking and then Helen Butler putting people on the ground. We are planning our first event for October 1st, which will be a major voter registration be starting GOTV rally. And so we are geared up to support. There's so much going on. We're going to support. And we know that the difference that was made in 2020 was strength on the ground. We are doubling back with all the people that we employed in 2020 to get some volunteer activity now. And the response has been very positive. So more to follow, and I will reserve that time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, my name is Petey Talley, and I'm the convener of the Ohio Coalition on Black Civic Participation, or Ohio Unity, and the co-convener of the Ohio Black Women's Roundtable. Ohio is a state that has just been outlandish in passing some of the most regressive laws with our lopsided, hyper-partisan General Assembly, whether it's the trigger law once Roe v. Wade was overturned, or most recently a bill that permits Ohio adults to carry a concealed handgun without having a license have been signed into law. And that's why in Ohio, we are powering our vote to leverage power, protect our rights, and defend our freedoms. We had a soft launch for the May primary where we reached over 3,000 voters with information about that primary election. And now we're in the midst of a second primary election, August 2nd, due to the delayed decisions about district lines. Our state Supreme Court struck down the state legislative maps 4 times before the federal judges appointed by Trump forced implementation of a third gerrymandered state legislative maps. And just last Thursday, the Ohio Supreme Court struck down the gerrymandered congressional map for a second time, even though those districts were voted on in the May primary. So we have mass confusion here in Ohio, and that makes our work more important. On the November ballot, we have targeted Senate races, Supreme Court races, state executive branch races, General Assembly and congressional races. We've recruited male coordinators and over 50 to 80 canvassers who are ready to go. And we have our campaign set up so we can capture our contacts with the tools and websites, social and traditional media, and face-to-face events and toolkits. We plan to register new voters. We plan to warn other voters who may be in danger of being purged. We're going to educate on the new maps, when and where to cast ballots. And we have our targeting in place aimed at tens of thousands door knocks, phone calls, and text messaging. We are training Ohioans at the state capitol on Saturday, August 6th, and then rallying them on or around the 57th anniversary of the signing of the Voting Rights Act in Columbus, Ohio. We're going to be meeting on the 28th, this Thursday, hopefully with your team coming in with our coordinators so we can get all trained up and ready to go. Melanie, we want to thank you and the team at the National Coalition Unity Campaign for all of the work you all did, laying the groundwork and the blueprint for us. And we also want to thank groups like Black Voters Matter, Face United to Save Our Democracy, and others who have targeted Ohio as a tier 1 priority state and are providing some of the much needed resources we need in order to operate. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Petey. I'm not sure if Maryland, and thank you so much, Florida, Georgia, and Ohio, leading our Unity Coalition on the ground, and so much more, and working in collaboration and partnership. It is about all of us coming together in various ways. And so thank you so much. I'm not sure if Maryland was able, I know Reverend Tony had to jump off. I don't know if Lawana or Robin is on, and if able to get her, but Maryland, and then Michigan, Tamika Ramsey, convener, Michigan Coalition on Black Civic Participation, and the Michigan Black Women's Roundtable, and Stephanie Williams, convener, Kalamazoo, Michigan Black Women's Roundtable, and following her will be Pennsylvania, and Reverend Dr. Judith C. Moore, convener, Pittsburgh Mon Valley Black Women's Roundtable, and Tiffany Dominique, if she's still on, who co-convenes our Philadelphia Unity Coalition and our Philadelphia Black Women's Roundtable. So Maryland, Michigan, Pennsylvania. And then we have about 4 more states after that, and we're done. So thank you all who are able to stay on. Maryland. Tamika, you want to go right ahead and we'll come back to Maryland?
Yes, I can. Hi, my name is Tamika Ramsey, and I am the chair of the Michigan Coalition on Black Civic Participation and Black Women's Roundtable, Metro Detroit. So we have a heated governor's race in Michigan, and so we are focusing very heavily on our GOTV and have started calling people, and will call Black people across the state for the next 7 days. We are also a part of the Reproductive Justice Ballot Initiative here in Michigan to change our Constitution. There is a 1931 law that our governor filed suit with our state Supreme Court, and so that law has not gone into effect, and hopefully it will not go into effect until we change our ballot initiative. We had to get over 700,000 signatures because it is a very contested ballot initiative. We will also, our primary is August the 2nd, and so we will continue to do a GOTV push. We will also start doing our absentee, no reason absentee GOTV push for our general election starting September 25th, because that is 45 days before the primary. And so we will make sure that we are focusing on people. We have we have anti-voter suppression bills in the Capitol that we are also doing education and outreach for. And what we are focusing very heavily on is making sure that Black and Brown women understand the importance of our reproductive justice bill in the state of Michigan. It is not just about abortions, but also focusing on maternal health as well, and any other reproductive justice issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamika. Is Stephanie still on? You may have had to drop off. Thank you, Tamika, and we'll be seeing you soon. Thank you so much. Next, Reverend Dr. Judith Moore from Pittsburgh, and if Tiffany Dominique from Philly is on, and then we'll move to Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Virginia, and that's it for our state report outs.
Right. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Pittsburgh Newsflash. Our fair city is once again the best place for people to live in the United States. The question is, for whom? And our newly elected first Black Mayor Gainey is addressing those issues. As a result of the Pittsburgh inequality across gender and race, reports that Pittsburgh is the most unlivable city for Black women in the areas of health, employment, poverty, and education. And so presently, we are meeting with healthcare professionals, and we're proposing an action-filled mental health collaboration to provide access, solutions, and resources, and to improve the delivery of mental health services for Black women. It would comprise mental health professionals, and most importantly, the Black women who will be served will have therapists that look like them. Recently, we noticed that the Pennsylvania Senate and Executive Nomination Committee added an amendment to the Senate Bill 106 that states residents of the Commonwealth no longer have the right to have an abortion.
And so when those resources are not available, it puts women who are already at risk more at risk. And we know that Pennsylvania Black women account for 44% of abortions performed in 2020. Recently, we hosted with Gateway Medical Society Black Women's Economic and Health Symposium, where we brought in experts from Highmark to the financial institution to HUD to Small Business Association and Black women-owned businesses. So our advocacy, we're creating actionable steps, expand our collaborative partners, continue to generate advocacy, public education, community organizing, grassroots, and nonpartisan voter education. We continue to fly with one wing, but we're keeping the faith, knowing that our work is not in vain. Shirley Chisholm said, if you are not invited to the table, bring a folding chair. This is Sister Saving Our Souls Now, Pittsburgh, Mon Valley Black Women Roundtable update.
Thank you. Thank you. Is Tiffany on still?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you, Tiffany. Tiffany from Philadelphia.
So I'm Tiffany from Philadelphia, and we are really just trying to do a robust education and voter registration during this election cycle, as well as election protection, and also really making sure that we let people know about accountability, because we want folks in office, and then we want to make sure that they do what they said they were going to do. And lastly, I think it's important to note that this is a powerful coalition, so we always want to know that we can come back and get questions, get revitalized when we're down, get that information and inspired by others who are doing this work. And so those are the top things that we're going to be doing in Philadelphia to get out the vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And last and certainly not least, we have our Southern state leaders on. A couple of them are in battleground, so that's what they were. They spoke in that segment. Is Alabama. I'm not quite sure. I know I see Letitia Daniels Jackson, convener South Alabama Black Women's Roundtable. Not sure if our sister Honorable Sheila Tyson is on. I don't see her, but I do see Cassandra Welchland, co-convener and lead organizer, Mississippi Black Women's Roundtable, Mississippi Coalition on Black Civic Participation. And I see our sister Krista Jones, founder, Vote, Lead Impact, co-convener of the Virginia Black Women's Roundtable. And I don't think I see Olita Fitzgerald. If she is, let me know, and I'll just lift her name up in absentia, who is our regional partner in the South, who leads the Southern Rural Black Women's Initiative and is Southern Director for Children's Defense Fund, and in absentia, Vincent Sylvain, convener Louisiana Unity Coalition. So ladies, Letitia, Cassandra, and Krista, close us out.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you, Melanie, for your leadership. Sheila was on, but I think she had to jump off.
Okay.
So I'll give you a brief update for the South Alabama. We are targeting, we are continuing to target voters who are already registered but are not voting. We're holding listening sessions, and we hope to be able to do some focus groups as well to find out how we can motivate these voters that are already registered and are not voting. We have been holding intergenerational sessions with young people, as well as with some of the elders who can speak to the time when they were not able to vote, and share that education and knowledge with young voters, as well as hear from young voters as to what motivates them and what will motivate them, and what we can do to motivate them to work. We are also involved in our Alabama Coalition, Reproductive Justice Coalition. We've been doing a lot of education around reproductive justice. And we have we are a part of, and I'm one of the plaintiffs in the redistricting fight, and we will be having our oral arguments before the Supreme Court on the Alabama redistricting fight in October 4th at the Supreme Court. And that is it for South Alabama.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Melanie, for having us on this call. So I do lead the Mississippi Black Women's Roundtable, and we too are very much involved. And as you can see, Mississippi definitely has been, in the headlines, given the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health organization that took this case all the way to the Supreme Court to overturn abortions. And so that is definitely front and center in the work that we have been doing, particularly around educating communities, and being a part of also a reproductive rights and justice coalition to educate people about what their rights are, what they can and can't do, and how to get people to the right kinds of resources so they can take care of their health needs. But still standing in the gap and fighting the good fight around that. We understand that, of course, that these issues are also tied to the vote. And so we have definitely been talking with voters about the issues that concern them. So we know, the reproductive health issues are concerning them, of course, equal pay, all the issues around criminal justice reform. And so partnering really strongly with organizations to ensure that women have the information that they need. And so we have, again, launched the campaign to target infrequent voters. We pulled the data around where are the infrequent Black women voters and where are the infrequent Black men voters. And we have been going into those communities doing some strong targeting because we have a lot of voters that are on the rolls, but they're not turning out. And so we're being very strategic about targeting them. And so how we're doing that, we have, doing phone calls, sending information out, doing those kinds of things, but we're also doing judicial forums. We have a lot of Black women that are running for judges in key areas. And so we're holding forums in these areas across the state. We have 4 forums that's on the horizon. One is coming up in the next week. And so we are doing that work. The other thing we're doing is voter education, voter registration, but we're doing them in partnering with beauty shops and barber shops to do that. So going to where the people are, and we'll be doing train the trainers with these beauty, with these stylists and the barbers, because they're there every day. So we don't have to come in there every day. Let's just give them the training that they need. And then the other thing that we're doing lastly is that we are organizing and giving training with our Black Youth Vote. They're doing some incredible work over the summer. They're doing, we did a Know Your Power campaign a couple of years ago. They're reenacting that and going to be doing a sneaker ball. And with this sneaker ball, they're reaching out to their peers to engage them, vote, to register them, and to educate them on the issues, as well as a back to school drive. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing, and just gonna keep on doing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Krista Jones, one of the co-conveners for Black Women's Roundtable Virginia, along with Laverne Chapman. In Virginia, it's really been an interesting time for us, an interesting political situation, a lot of changes. But to be perfectly honest, what our team and the ladies we work with are just so frustrated by the fact that every year we hear the same narrative the day after Election Day. Right? That the same articles are written about how the campaigns didn't reach out, they weren't diverse enough, et cetera. So that's why, and along with all of our partners here on this call today, it has been really important for us to engage in 365-day-a-year advocacy and really encourage all of our partners to do the same and get out of that mindset, out of that election season. We also know that a lot of our sisters around the nation, but definitely in Virginia, have not felt heard in the issues that are important to us. So one of the highlights that we've been able to do this year, thanks to the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, thankful to your leadership, Melanie, on this, is to do the listening sessions on economic mobility. This has enabled us to really learn about the specific reasons why Black women aren't able to just kind of advance economically, and the reasons that we can really focus on to fix that issue. We'll be releasing a report later this fall that talk about everything from student loan debt to healthcare. And we've been able to use that to get more advocates and also focus on the issues which we know voters are really want to do. So to work along those lines of those issues we started discussing, we're going to, throughout August and September, be conducting GOTV postcard canvases, campaigns, texting, phone banking. And we also, when we talk about 365-day-a-year advocacy and leadership, it's important for us to think about obviously what's coming next. So while we have congressional elections this year, Virginia has elections every year. So our state House and Senate elections are next year. So we're going to be really working on using the momentum behind the congressional elections that we feel nationally to get people excited about 2023. And then lastly, on reproductive justice, while Virginia is considered a safe haven, we are literally one vote away from that changing. So that's why it's extremely important for us to not just kind of focus on our midterms this year, but get us ready to be very active next year. So thank you, Melanie, for this time, and thank you for bringing us all together.
Thank you so much, Krista. And I see the Lawana was able to make it. Lawana Brown,
Yes.
thank you. You'll be our last speaker, who's co-convener of the Maryland, DC Black Women's Roundtable, but also works hand in hand with Reverend Tony Lee, who is the convener of our Maryland, DC Unity Coalition, and Robin Williams, who's also co-convener of the Maryland, DC Black Women's Roundtable. You're our last word.
Oh, wow. No pressure, right? Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Melanie. Thank you for putting this together. You have been a phenomenal leader, and I'm so privileged to be able to learn so much from you. As far as our Maryland, DC coalition, we are actually working right now diligently to build our coalition. We too have done the listening sessions. We're still in the midst of doing those right now to find out what Black women voters want in this area. We're also using those sessions to build our coalition and to add on members in this area so that we can have a strong representation and so that we can do a lot of the activities that I've been hearing our other state affiliates talk about. And I'm really excited about building and being able to do that. We just had our midterm elections here in Maryland, so we're still waiting on those, the final votes, but we definitely want to get with those candidates or the candidates, because we're going to be going to the primaries. We want to get to generals, rather. We want to get with them to make sure that our voices are heard and make sure that the concerns of their constituents are being met and that they have, what their intentions are and to hold them accountable to what is needed and what we need them to do. And then, of course, we did what we could to push voters out for the midterms. To get them interested. We were finding that a lot of people were not interested in the candidates. They were not interested in voting at all. And so we've been diligently trying to get people to understand that their vote does matter and that, we can't let these election cycles pass without them getting involved in every part of the election process and not just the generals that happen, regularly. So we need to make sure that we are getting our voices out, having our voices heard. And again, we're working on building a strong coalition here in the Maryland, DC area so that we can branch out and get even more done in this area. So we're looking forward to doing that.
Thank you, Lawana. And we're going to thank you, everyone who was able to stay with us to the end. I do want to recognize, and we'll make sure we follow up with her and our sister Sherelle Carper, who's the president of the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women's Clubs. We will be back in touch with you to pull you in to this work. So thank you all so very much for giving of your time today. I want to thank our team, our campaign team led by Christina Q and Daryl Coles, and all of our team on the back end, Tanya and Angelo and Lon and Antoinette and Delisa. And if I've left somebody out, let me know. Shoot, just speak up. Thank you all for the hard work, and the work has already begun. And we're gonna push ourselves through this. Look to hear more from us. Q, I want you to remind folks again what's happening this week to close us out. And if you think of organizations that you think that we should be involved with from the national level, please let us know. We will also share with you all the leaders who are leading the work on the Unity campaign in the states that we have covered today. So if they're not working with our coalition on the ground, we can try to connect those dots. And then anything you have going on, this is also a clearinghouse to share what you also are doing in your own individual organizations so that we can all just cross-fertilize. That's what this is about. And we will be meeting again in about 2 weeks, and we'll do that virtually because COVID is real and rampant. And so we're not trying to have any in-person mass meetings, but we'll meet one more time in the next couple of weeks to look to get that information. So thank you all so very much. Thank our state leaders and all of our national partners. Q, just run down the agenda and where people can contact you and Daryl. And I think we're done. If I've missed anything, guys, wave at me, let me know from the team.
No, man, we're good. Did you ask me to close out, Mel? I
asked you to go over the agenda.
Oh, for the next steps?
For the week. For the week.
Oh, got it.
Okay, just the top line.
Yes. So tomorrow we'll be kicking off our Are You Vote Ready social media campaign launch, and on Wednesday we'll have our speak out, our fighting for our rights, freedom, safety, and justice speak out in front of the U.S. Supreme Court at 2:00. Thursday we'll be in Ohio with a virtual phone bank with our Ohio affiliates, and we'll be in Michigan on Friday and Saturday with our Michigan affiliates with getting out the vote for their upcoming primaries. And then we will close out the week with our Black Youth Vote Organizing and Empowerment activities, our poll worker and poll monitor summer recruitment drive, our Owning Your Voting Power National HBCU Challenge, and our Brothers Can We Talk conversation. So we look forward to you all being a part of those events.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all have a blessed rest of your day.